Welcome back to What's New in the Lou with Alexis Zotos, presented by Kaldi's Coffee. This is your can't miss weekly podcast, helping you stay in the know, all things St. Louis. We're talking about the best events happening, the new restaurants opening, but most importantly, the people that continue to make St. Louis the best place to live and visit. Now, stick around until the end of the episode because we will give you a calendar of all the fun things happening this week around town. Now, there is a lot of excitement, a lot of growth, a lot of new things happening in St. Louis. And some of that is happening in South St. Louis. And that's why I'm so excited by our guest today, the Garcia brothers. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having us.
You guys always have a lot going on, but right now, gearing up for a very big opening.
Yeah. Uncle Bill's is right around the corner. And after about a year of work by a lot of people. We're weeks out.
Amazing. Uncle Bill's is one of those places in St. Louis that just holds a lot of memories for people.
Mm-hmm.
What made you look at that space after they closed and think, this is our next project?
You want to take it?
Yeah, I think we had an interest in it long before it closed.
Okay.
And Jennifer, my wife, had joked for years, like if that thing ever became available,
We need it.
we need to save it. It's because it's got so much potential.
Mm-hmm.
And it really was like for us, like all the things that we love, like unique architecture, a community hub, the affordability of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the restaurant, I guess the place that where we sit in the restaurant industry was like approachable food. We're not against like fine dining. There's obviously people doing wonderful things in town with fine dining, but like approachable food really speaks to us. Pizza, burgers, pancakes, because everyone can afford that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, for all those reasons, we just thought, man, this would be really great. But when it came up, like the timing was terrible for us. And we were in a lot of projects. And as Bro mentioned right before we started recording, like we don't take on equity partners.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything that we're doing, we're funding ourselves.
Wow.
And we do that on purpose because oftentimes the projects we take on aren't like big, they're not big money makers out of the gate. Eventually, they mature.
Mm-hmm.
But like we go out on a limb and investors don't really appreciate that
Right.
oftentimes, right? They're like, what's my return this year? And we're like, nothing. And for the next 5 years,
Pancakes.
for the next 5 years, it'll be nothing. And then it'll be okay. But like,
yeah.
Most investors don't have that kind of investment horizon. They want a return and they want it now, and understandably so.
Yeah.
So for that reason, we've always just funded things ourselves.
Yeah. Part of it is, we joked, and like he said, leading up to the years, we always talked about like if Uncle Bill's, close,
Mm-hmm.
that would be a project we probably would be interested in because, with everything else that we're doing on South Kingshighway, to lose that piece,
That anchor piece. Yeah.
it would just be like, I keep on saying it would be like a huge step backwards, right? So, I mean, even as early as the summer before it closed October of 24.
Four.
Yeah. Even as, that summer, I have conversations with folks about what we were doing down there and then like what other businesses were down there. And we talked about Uncle Bill's and, you put it out in there in the ether, like if it were to close, and I don't know, but then we find out that it was going to close.
Mm-hmm.
We go there to have our final kind of breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
And we sat there in the dining room and we just looking at each other. And
Well, there aren't many places. Okay, so St. Louis is wonderful, and I think we can agree on that. And
Sure.
not everyone in St. Louis agrees on that,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But what makes St. Louis special
Yeah.
is the same thing that makes every other city special. And it's the things that are unique to St. Louis,
Yeah.
right? And so when we lose places like we lost the Parkmore,
Mm-hmm.
it's you don't get those back because the way our economy now is set up, which is that the money's going upstream to venture capital, and then we're getting just like another storage place, right? We have like 6.
What are people storing? Like
Right.
truly, what are people storing?
We're eating our feelings, and we're also buying our feelings away,
I
right?
guess so.
And then we keep buying stuff, and then we need a storage unit.
Mm-hmm.
But like car washes, so like once venture capital decides this is where it's safe to invest,
Yeah.
they run that horse into the ground, and when we lose really unique places like that, we lose what it is that makes a place unique with the fabric of that. And
Yeah.
well, Uncle Bill's is one of those places. Like if we lose that and exchange it for a Ross's Dress for Less or another car wash. I mean, you start losing what makes St. Louis, because all of a sudden you plop someone down and you're like, am I in a strip mall in Austin
Right.
or Seattle or Dallas? I have no idea, because it's the same 6 stores that are everywhere. But like, if you're in Uncle Bill's, you're in St. Louis.
Right. So like we were, that's where we come from. That's our opinion.
Sure.
If there's one. We had that final breakfast and we looked around and I mean, St. Louis was there. You had professionals there. You had medical professionals there. You had,
Every kind of person.
every kind of person, every race, socioeconomic background. Like, and we were like, what other place can you go to where everyone feels safe? Everyone's there.
Everyone feels like they belong.
Right. And so, we wrote our name and number on a napkin, gave it to the
Is that how you did it? You were just like,
well, we were hoping that we could get in touch with with the owner, and they didn't call us. But Ivan drove by immediately thereafter, and there was a sign, a for sale sign, and we reached out to them. And then when we finally were able to meet with them, it happened pretty fast. They're like, "Yeah, we got your napkin. We knew we'd probably be talking to you guys." And I don't know if the story's worth telling, but it might be.
I mean,
it's kind of a kismet moment, but
yeah, I mean, the when we went to look at it, I call, Berto and I had our breakfast there, and we're like, we were interested, of course, but realistically, Berto was like, if it's irresponsible for us to even look at this right now, we have way too much going on,
right.
Just keeping the lights on, paying everyone's, keep payroll going. But we're like, I was like, we just have to go look. Let's just go look, And so we met the agent there, who neither of us knew. And right before we opened the door, I was like, Berto, if we're meant to do this, there'll be a sign, right? Like,
undeniable.
And it won't be anything we can like talk away. There'll be a sign that, and he's like, okay, whatever. We walk in the door, and this guy who we've never met before turns to us and says, he doesn't say hello. He says, which of the two of you is married to Pastor Dale's daughter? And we looked at each other. I'm like, oh my God, we're doing this. And this gentleman knew my wife's dad, who had befriended his mother because she had tragically lost a son and he'd been murdered. And my wife's dad was a pastor, and this family, they were Jewish, and so they weren't part of his church, but they were part of the community. And when he found out that this happened, he went to console her, and they became lifelong friends.
Wow, I just got the chills.
And he said, your father-in-law was my mother's very best friend in the world. And I was like, what is happening? And then we met the owners. We like immediately hit it off. And it almost became like, it wasn't a business transaction. It was like people coming together to make something that needs to happen. Like, it felt like a collaboration. And it was so weird. And it seems like some of these things that need to happen are just like, we didn't make that deal happen. I feel like we were open to it, and it just happened. And it's been difficult, right? Like, there's a lot of, it cost 3 times as much as we thought it would to really prepare that building for another 65 years of service. But like, it really has felt like it was supposed to happen.
That was the base, experience that we needed to get us to today.
Yeah.
Because
And so here we are today, a year plus later of construction, gearing up for that opening. What is your hope that it feels like when you officially open those doors again to the city?
It's funny because we went through a lot of effort to make sure that the space felt exactly like, it was always, to the folks that visited, right?
We've had this isn't a modernized interpretation of Uncle Bill's.
It was we spent a lot of money making it look exactly what it was before. And so we've had folks come by, that we've worked with on this project. Well, they'll sit at a table and they're like, "Oh, I remember this wall and this window. Like, I've been here 1,000 times, and that wall was not there. That window was not there." So, but it
feels,
100% feels like exactly what it was before. 75% of the space, walls in rooms are the same, but the wall coverings are different, but exactly like what they should be. We've opened up some more windows, but the stained glass we've repaired, opened up windows, filled it with stained glass. We've done a lot of just, new booths, but they look like they've been there forever. New tables, but they look like they've been there forever.
Does that make it more complicated because you are you're trying to capture and maintain nostalgia in a way.
Yeah. So like there's a fine line, right? Like how do we keep it feeling the same,
Mm-hmm.
honor what it was, and yet modernize it?
Yeah.
You know, in a way that is respectful of kind of the vibe and the memories that people have, right? It's like kind of going in and remodeling someone's grandma's house,
Mm-hmm.
and they come back like, this isn't my grandma's house. So like even the menu is very, very similar.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
Um,
And then the part that no one talks about is like, we also want it to be a fantastic place to work.
Right.
And so equal effort was put in the back of house than the front of house, right? So like, yeah, our customers, we want them to have a great experience, but like we also want, in order for that to happen, our employees have to have a great experience. And that means that the kitchen needs to be like a world-class kitchen, right? It needs to be the best tool possible to be able to create the food that's going to be brought out to the, so, you know, no one will ever see that, right? But
they'll feel it.
they'll feel it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
And so menu-wise, similar.
Yes.
Yeah, not only similar, we were having training yesterday, and I was looking at the menu, and it's like we spent a lot of money modernizing the space, elevating a lot of the details, and yet the price point is basically the same.
Wow.
Right?
And that's not easy to do in today's day and age.
No, but it's really important to our team because like we want it again to be approachable, and everyone on our team feels that way. Like we're not trying to create a place that a lot of our previous customers come back and they're like, oh, it's nice, but I can't afford to eat there anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's important. Like we say we wanted to save it. And part of that is just having the discipline to save it and not change it.
And that's, it's not an easy thing to do.
No.
But you guys, that's been a giant part of your business is kind of helping maintain so much of the history of St. Louis.
Right.
Because while we're talking here about pancakes, it's not why you got into the business. This started many years ago from a real estate perspective.
Yeah.
Walk us back to the beginning. When did you guys start working together, and how did Garcia Properties start? Give us a little backstory.
Yeah, so I mean, it really started with Ivan and Jennifer when they decided to move to St. Louis. They went to school and met at SIUC Carbondale, and they moved to St. Louis. And you know, the story is that they were going to go to a chiropractic school at Logan, and they looked at each other the night before.
No, literally, Jennifer, the night before classes, woke up and was like, I just try to picture myself in a lab coat and I can't. I'm not going to go. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
But like, to her credit, like we've done a really good job of like, even if it's at the last moment,
Staying true.
of like listening to our hearts and going, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listening to that intuition is
And
important.
so that's what got us here, right? Or them. And the following year, I was working in Chicago, and I knew that that career path wasn't going to be my forever kind of path. And so we talked a lot, and he's like, why don't you just come down and see? You know, we're gonna. I don't know.
Yeah, St. Louis is one of the things that makes St. Louis so wonderful is we have amazing architecture, and we're very approachably priced.
Yeah.
Right, which is why we have investors coming from California now, but and other places to invest here. But like right away, it felt good to me.
Yeah.
Right.
We come from a working class family, and and South City just felt right to us, right? So that was 1999.
Yeah, but Jennifer and I started very aggressively. You know, we had no money, but we started getting very creative with financing and buying buildings. And Berto was in Chicago, like you said, and you know, and he joined us very quickly, right? Very, very soon after we started investing.
Yeah.
But I was like, it feels good down here, you know, like, and you can afford to buy property here. So come on down. And he was like, all right. So he came down. He moved into our unconditioned back porch of our 2-family we were living in.
Yeah. He said to me, I have a bedroom for you.
And Berto came down. It was like storm windows.
Yeah.
And, it was like, and a mattress on the floor.
Ooh.
So, but it was, it was fun. It was exciting.
Yeah. But that started in 2005. So what people don't know is that, so while we may have been the first one to start, like we have other brothers that are part of our business as well. And one at a time, our family moved down from the Chicagoland area to St. Louis
and Southern Illinois.
And so, So
where did you guys grow up?
We grew up in DeKalb, Illinois. So it's Northern Illinois. It's about 60 miles west of Chicago. It's where Northern Illinois University is.
Got it.
That was kind of our, we weren't born there.
We were born in Los Angeles.
Right. 5 of us. So there's 7 of us
I
total.
love they just had to look at him like, where were we born?
No, because I didn't know how to answer
What
this
are we
question.
saying today?
Like we weren't all born in the same spot. So
Which podcast is this? Philadelphia.
no. So our parents are immigrated from Mexico and they came and it started in Southern California. So Ivan and I were born in Los Angeles. We have siblings that were born in Mexico. We have siblings that were born in Southern California. We had siblings that were born in Northern Illinois. But we all and we were very close. But we all made it to St. Louis. All 7 siblings are in St. Louis.
Wow.
Our parents were born,
And my
born in
wife's
St. Louis.
parents and her sibling all moved to St. Louis.
Wow.
Yeah,
So both sides, both sides of our family moved to St. Louis.
right.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so by 2005, we were both heavily in real estate, buying stuff separately. And we're like, we probably should.
Yeah, the thing is, we were very intentional about not going into business together.
Right.
Because
From an
everyone
early,
warns you about that, right? Don't go
Yeah.
into business with your family. And we're like, yeah, that's probably a bad idea. So we were doing real estate in St. Louis separately. And then eventually, just a few years later, we were like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Like, Berto's much better at finance than I will ever be. And, so we were like, we have different talents. Let's join forces. And that,
yeah, our
was
brother
the
Johnny, our
best
brother
thing we could have
Miguel,
ever
they
done,
were
yeah.
all doing, they all had their own properties. And so we kind of, I didn't call it like a family meeting, but like Ivan and I literally went to a Steak and Shake and had dinner. And we're like, are we going to do this together? And once we decided that maybe this is something we should do, we approached our brothers and we said, if there's, if you want to get it, if you want to do this with us, now's the time.
Yeah.
And they had their own careers going. And that's how it started. And that was 2005.
USA Today readers have named Kaldi's Coffee the best coffee chain for the 2nd year in a row. Since 1994, Kaldi's Coffee has built its reputation on thoughtful sourcing, careful roasting, and warm, consistent service that shows up in every cup. It's an honor earned through daily dedication to quality. Explore Kaldi's best blends and find your cafe at kaldiscoffee.com. So 20 years later, and you guys have really built such an incredible business. I mean, bigger than just a business. You guys really have.
Today, and not to cut you off, but today, it started with being landlords, right? We were buying property, renting it out. But it became, shortly thereafter, Jennifer started her the brokerage, Garcia Properties. We started doing mortgages right after that. We always managed our own property, and we really weren't intending on managing other people's properties. But then that became a business. We started rehabbing properties, shortly thereafter. So then that kind of led to our construction company, and then probably all along we thought offering insurance, like personal home and auto type stuff would be something we would do, but we didn't get to that till later. But we have an insurance agency now. Obviously, we've gotten into the restaurant, so the hospitality business is really resonates with us. So we're doing that a little bit now, and so we have a little.
When someone
venue.
asks you what you do, like, how do you answer that question?
It's very difficult. I think whatever needs to be done that day, I guess. Maybe.
Well, I think we've given some thought to that because obviously when you meet people like, what do you do?
Like, what
and
do you do?
like, try to make St. Louis better.
Yeah.
Like try to make, because all of the stuff that we do is so, like the real estate, our customers are everywhere now. We have customers that started with us in the city and they're in Wentzville or Arnold or Kirk, Chesterfield. So our agents really, we go wherever our customers are. And so we're kind of a regional, Missouri regional real estate company now.
Sure.
But like, as far as all of our real estate stuff, like it's very concentrated, like
Our holdings.
yeah. So, and where we've chosen to take our resources, right, and redeploy them is South Kingshighway.
Right.
Yeah. And it's because we felt like if we kept the area very concentrated where we invest, we'd have more of an impact.
Yeah, we always joke like, we didn't diversify risk away. We put all of our eggs in one basket and we're just watching that basket, right? And if there's one thing I've really underestimated, it's the amount of effort, basically every type of resource it takes to change the narrative of a specific block, a specific neighborhood, specific business. And it takes a lot. But once you've done it once and then you kind of convince yourself that it can be done again. And that's what kind of leads you to projects like Uncle Bill's, right? Started with the Hoosier, Bud's Pizza. Now it's Uncle Bill's. And, we have plans, God willing, for other, I guess, ventures, if you will.
Okay.
I would say community
on
community
Kingshighway.
investments. Yeah.
But again,
Okay.
it's only at the pace at which we can invest to do that.
And we really don't have, it's interesting because we're so deep into the Kingshighway project.
Yeah.
And we were like, we feel schizophrenic because like sometimes we're like, we're in too deep. We need to, and then something comes up and we're like, oh my God, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
And it just seems like in service of our little Kingshighway dream, we get very crazy, right? We like, it's almost like if it's on, but yet if someone said, I have this project for you in Kirkwood, it's not our thing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, because other people should do that. Like live there, right?
So yeah, you mentioned having all your eggs in one basket, and
Sure.
yeah, you guys, that basket is South Kingshighway.
Yep.
What drew you to that? Your offices are your offices still there?
Oh,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah. Your office is there. What made you look around and say, you know what, this is a block of a group of blocks that we should give some love and care to?
So, our business is basically people, real estate. And when the Starbucks came in at the Southtown Center, redevelopment there, Ivan and I, this is, I don't know what year it was, but we went and they have a few tables on the outside there. And we were sitting and it was, some beautiful summer morning. And we were looking across the street at this architecture, right? And we said to each other, wouldn't it be nice if that was just...
Yeah, and half of them were empty and full of predatory lenders. And we looked across and we're like, wow, that could be so beautiful.
Yeah.
We should do something with that.
Well,
or someone should do something with that.
That was like a seed that we planted, right?
Yep.
Years later, I don't know, was it you that approached me or
Well, no.
Wasn't it like on Sunday night? You basically said what was that?
Okay, so at the time I was
This is a
reading.
good story.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so-
reminds me of my sister.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just love the way his brains are working.
Okay,
right
so Simon Sinek, the author, is one of the things he does is help people find their purpose or what they see as their purpose. And I was reading one of his books. I think it starts with Why or something. And it was, and I was really kind of doing a lot of soul searching, which I still am. But
the mental exercise was.
But there were some exercises in the book of like, find out, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing or what it is that you're supposed to be doing. And one of the exercises was, if you could be successful at something professionally and you knew success was guaranteed and money was no object, what would you do? And for whatever reason, I read that question and like immediately I think, wow, I'd fix up South Kingshighway. Like, cause it's like such an important artery in St. Louis, right?
And especially at that intersection right there.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And so I'm like, that's, way to shoot low, Ivan. I was like, world hunger, cure cancer, South Kingshighway. That's my.
But I in some ways that's obviously a much more realistic,
I guess.
I mean,
So
I'm
here's
sure
the
there
thing.
have been days that didn't feel realistic.
Right. So then the next day I come to the office and I
We office together.
I go, hey, Berto, if you could like guaranteed success, money was no object, like what would you do? And he says, I'd fix up South Kingshighway. And I was like, oh, here we go.
I was afraid you were going to say that.
So then we started looking up and down the road, up the street and going, all right, which buildings do we feel like are in our wheelhouse that are things that we could affect that would move the needle in the right direction? And we identified like 12 buildings. And we said, all right, if we could...
We had like 3 at the time or something like that, yeah.
And so I actually drew up a map on graph paper, right? Very technical, and put little boxes on there. And then we like highlighted them. We're like, all right, let's start moving towards buying these. We own all of them now.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's really odd how it happened. And when we say we, it's our family, right?
Yeah.
So like,
Right.
So we, some of them, each individual property might be owned differently, just depending on how it came about.
Yeah.
But within, a handful of years, all of the properties that we identified, we purchased and renovated, with the exception of maybe a couple now that we'll actually do this year. But it started, the old YWCA building. It sat vacant forever and it was being used for storage. We bought it. Jennifer was like, you guys really need to go see that building. And we're like,
no, it's too complicated. There's a swimming pool. And she's like, it's really cool.
Yeah. So we went down there, we bought that and renovated. It's, apartments and it's like some
I have to say I was
offices.
wrong.
Yeah.
Because she's like, she kept taking clients to go look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, I can't talk anyone to buying this. You and Berto have to go look at it. And she kept saying, just go look at it. It's cool. And I was like, no, it's too complicated. And then years later, we went and looked at it. And I come home, I'm like, honey, that building is so cool. And she's like,
so what's the lesson here?
Yeah.
Always
she was right.
She's always right.
Yeah.
But so I mean, that's how it kind of started. I mean, just buying all those buildings. And then once you have them, it's like taking the time. So, you know, what's funny is many years ago, I don't know, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, we nominated the 3800 and the 3700 block of South Kingshighway.
Yeah, Berto and I personally did.
Right. And we're like, it costs, I don't know, what the time, it was $10,000. I don't know. But we nominated to have it listed on the registry of historic places. So on the National Registry, thinking that if it was nominated, someone would actually rehab those properties.
Right.
Never thinking it would be us.
That it would be you guys.
And then of course it was us.
Well, and most of those buildings, right? So when you want to buy or take control of like the 3800 block of Kingshighway, we own every single building on that block. And that was not easy to do, right? Some of them we got for a decent price. The one on the corner of Kingshighway and Chippewa, the important one. Yeah. I mean, again, the reason we don't take on investors is because what we did there was nuts, right? The guy that owned it,
we had to pay him
was a terrible landlord.
Yeah.
You know, building was just full of drug addicts.
And some good people, by the way.
But I mean, it was the amount of police calls to that building was crazy. Was nuts, Like I live like 2 blocks from there, and the neighborhood is awesome. And yet we were hearing gunshots constantly. Yeah. And they were all coming from that direction. And I was like, how is it possible that one building could house so many people that are making poor decisions? But it was the case. And the guy, we just kept offering like more money. We're like, all right, make an offer. He's not interested. And eventually we're like, just make an offer that's so ridiculous that he's just like, I can't turn this down. Yeah. So we did. And then we had to fix the building because nothing had been done to it in like decades.
Or it had been, it's been pieced together.
So like there was no way of remodeling it while it was full. We had to rip out all the plumbing and, you know.
Everything's new. But so that property came online last March and we leased that up faster than any other deal we've ever done. Yeah. So like, the neighborhood, I mean, the community, the response to living at Chippewa and Kingshighway
was amazing.
Blew us away, right? And so we're only just a year after, right? But like again, it was just proof positive to us. Like just keep doing it, right? And I think people want to support what you're doing. Just keep doing it. And so that at this point in time, all the buildings on that block have been renovated. We're looking for, if anyone out there is looking for a place to do their thing, we have some retail spots available, 750 square feet up to 2,000 square feet on the 3800 block of South Kingshighway. And we're looking for people that, that want to do something that's unique and their space. So, yeah.
When did you guys decide, you guys are looking at these buildings, these gorgeous buildings. When did you decide maybe we should be the ones to put some restaurants in it? Like, when did you think maybe we do need to get into the restaurant business?
I mean,
there was a bar there, Southtown Pub, that was at 3707 South Kingshighway. And when they finally closed, we just thought, well, we'll rent it to another bar.
Sure.
Right? But we knew that there was things about the way they had operated that we wanted the new tenants to do differently, right? We wanted to be cleaner, a little bit more family friendly. And so we started looking for a tenant, and we weren't getting the right type of tenant, you know? And actually I thought, well, maybe it's supposed to be something other than a bar, right? So I actually was in there on a Saturday, like taking the bar apart to throw it away because we tried to sell it and no one wanted to buy it because it's,
it's giant.
It's giant. It was in really rough shape. It needed to be restored. But I could see that it had a lot of potential. And as I'm taking it apart, I realized this bar has been here since like the 30s, right? It's a part of St. Louis history. And I could see that like it could be restored. It would take a lot of work and a lot of effort, and a lot of money, but like it could be beautiful. And I just started getting sentimental about it. I was like, damn it, this bar could be so cool if someone was willing to spend the money and do it right. And I called Berto from there and I'm like, I think we're supposed to open a bar, because we could fix this, we could actually do it. And we don't know anything about restaurants, but like.
Well, we actually tried to get people to talk us out of it. I mean, we met with
Joe Edwards.
Yeah, we met with our bank. We met with our CPA. We met with our, some
attorney. Like, tell us this is a bad idea.
Tell us a bad idea. And everyone's like, I think you guys might be able to pull it off. And then, of course, Joe, so which we didn't know, by the way, took a lunch with us, and we're like, Joe, tell us how hard this is, and that we should really. And he's like, you got to do it.
Oh,
you know. And
wow.
Well, he said, well, why do you want to do it?
Yeah.
And we're like, well, we think that it could change the neighborhood,
Mhm.
you know? And he said, well, then you got to do it.
and you have to do it.
But he said, if you're going to change the perception of an area, and of course, Joe has a lot of experience with this,
Mhm.
don't go half-assed. Like,
Yeah.
you got to do it and do it right, because you're trying to change people's opinions. And so,
Again, back to the like underestimated what it takes to
so Joe is
change the
partially
narrative.
responsible for how gigantic the neon sign is on the Golden Hoosier,
right.
because we're like, well, he said go all in.
Gotta
So
go
like,
on.
Yeah.
put a big ass sign, you know?
And it was kind of like an ode to the Avalon, right? It was big, huge marquee, kind of like.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it started.
Well, and it is really night and day. I mean, I remember walking through that space. Was it that one of the spaces right there? Walking in there with you guys, and
It had to have been the Hoosier.
Was
Yeah.
it that, or
Yeah.
was it next door with Buds?
No, I think it was a Hoosier.
It might have been,
Yeah.
and it was. Yeah, I mean, the before and after, or it could have been the Piper space. Honestly.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
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 Anyway, it's night and day different, you know,
Yeah.
what you guys have created
Mhm.
there. And you've created these community hubs.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, what is your hope for, not just the narrative of the neighborhood, but the feeling when a customer walks into Piper's, when a customer walks into the Golden Hoosier, when a customer walks into Uncle Bill's? What's your hope?
You know, we just did some training yesterday. We met the staff at of Uncle Bill's yesterday, and they had their onboarding and their training right now. And we had an opportunity to speak with them, and our operations manager, went before us, and he says our definition of hospitality, which is what we're trying to do, right, is waking up and showing kindness to strangers. Right?
Yeah.
And going to work and showing kindness to strangers. It's that simple, really, right? And whether it's during a real estate transaction, whether it's helping someone with some financing, whether it's insurance, all these different things. But like the restaurants allow us. So let's say we do, I'm off the top of my head, we represent 800 people a year at our brokerage, right? Certain percentage of those people will get insurance through us. A certain percentage will get a mortgage through us, right? But that's 800 to 2,000 people in total, right? We do 2,000 people a week at the Hoosier.
Yeah, so we're able to impact
2,000
more people.
interactions a week, right? And so that's the thing that hospitality affords us, is the ability to impact someone's day on the regular in like at scale. We were talking about that. I hate using that word, by the way. But like it's a chance for us to make a bigger impact on everyone's daily life. It started with the Hoosier. Buds is carrying it on, and so on and so forth. But that's kind of what we do. We want our staff. We want us to have a chance to impact people positively in any way we can. So our product is not real estate. It's really the entire neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it's become.
And how we're affected by the environment we're in, right? And a lot of that is the built environment.
Mhm.
And if you live, like I live in Northampton, right behind there, and it's felt good to us. We've been there for almost 20 years, and it's a working class neighborhood, and I walk my dog twice a day. There's every type of person is in my neighborhood, and I love that. But if you're driving by a bunch of boarded up buildings and predatory lenders to get to your home every day, that gets to you, right? It affects how you feel about how safe you feel.
Mhm.
Right? If you're seeing, things run down and then there's not pride, like you can't help but be affected by that. And so what I think fixing up the buildings affects how people feel. It affects how people feel about the future. And what we're doing with like the Hoosier, with Buds, with Uncle Bill's, I'm always talking about feelings. Like, and when I'm designing a space, because I do the design for our spaces, is that I am really, really focused on what are people going to feel when they walk in. And I want them to feel like this place is special, like I can't find this somewhere else, and that people care about me, right? Because like when bathrooms are clean and spaces are nice, and you're the customer, it means that the person that's providing that for you thinks you're important enough that you deserve that, right? And when places are run down, it just means like you're not that important.
There's a story of a, we get invited to some of these events from time to time. And WashU hosted an event a few years ago, and it's many years ago at this point in time. But the owner of a bakery in Los Angeles called La Monarca Bakery, Monarch, and he was telling the story of when he was opening up a search bakery in this neighborhood that was, transitional, I'd say at best. And the other business owners along the area or in the area where he was opening up a bakery came in like, "This is too nice." He said, you don't have to do this.
You don't have to do this. They don't deserve it.
They don't deserve it. And that like really, when he was telling the story, I was like, I was welling up like, what? Like you want to give people more than they deserve, not you don't want to go down to the least common denominator. And so we feel that way. That resonates with us. Like we want to give folks as much as we can and more, because again, we don't want to. Our goal is not to like extract all the resources out of the community, right? It's not. It's to be able. It's to keep things going, right? It's like money is fuel, right? That's it. So we're not trying to pile it up somewhere.
Like there's that line from Hello Dolly that she keeps repeating. Like my husband said that the only thing that money's like manure. The only thing it's good for is for making things grow.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely resonated with me the first time I heard it. I'm like, yeah, I mean, what is the point of it?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I'm very uncomfortable, and I can describe us as very private people. And so like a lot of the stuff that you see it doesn't come naturally to us. Like this podcast, we don't do a lot of these, right?
Well, I appreciate
you being here. And so, I just think that, I don't know where I was going with that. I actually lost my train of thought. That's how much it affects me. But we'll come back to it.
If we could be, Jennifer and I have said like the worst thing, I can't imagine a worse fate than being famous.
Yeah.
Right? You lose your anonymity.
Yeah.
Like you have to be on. Your kids like driving you crazy. You're in the grocery store and someone comes up to you. You can't be like, "Hey, I'm having a rough day." You have to be like, "Hi."
Yeah, you have to be on all the time.
You know that.
I do.
Much more than I do. But we've kind of come to the realization that like, hey, we do have we're starting to develop at least a public image, and that like in service of our people and our companies, that like doing things like this help that.
Help share the story and get the reason why.
Yeah, so we're kind of like, all right, get over yourself. Like you don't want to do it. Just like go do it.
We got to tell people where they're going to find the pancakes.
Right,
exactly. We talked a little bit about before we went on, like if you have to be able to talk about your business, or
you do,
or you probably shouldn't be in business, right?
I do have a question. Will it be 24 hours?
It will not.
It will not.
I mean, I don't know whether a universe exists where that will be the case.
Yeah.
But at least out of the gate, or just breakfast and lunch.
Yep.
We're open to see where that takes us.
Okay, the big news since recording this episode is that today is the opening day of Uncle Bill's Pancakes on South Kingshighway. March 16th, you can go get those pancakes. All right, let's dive into the calendar for what's going on in the Lou this week. The Dogtown St. Patrick's Day Parade is Tuesday, March 17th. Swan Hill is performing at the Two Hill Theater on March 18th. The Moolah Shrine Circus is in town at the Family Arena this weekend, March 20th through the 22nd. March Madness is also in town at Enterprise Center, March 20th and 22nd. And Easter events are already happening. The Easter Egg-citement at Eckert's is March 21st and 22nd. You can stay in the know all week long with us on social media. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at What's New in the Lou Podcast. Let us know also if you have an event that should be on the calendar for the week. And don't forget to subscribe so you can get the latest episodes of the podcast coming straight to you. As always, thanks for listening.